So I just asked Elder that since our fathers went for these things, it's popular belief in Ghana that every house has a God in it. So if every house has a God in it, and most of the people that are in this community have turned away and followed Christianity and all of that, is there not certain curses and incurrence that comes after walking away? And he explained that our fathers, or the fathers of this town, some went as far as the northern regions of Ghana to conduct certain powers or authorities or being, and to go into covenant with them and bring them into their homes. And so what is actually happening is that because most of them didn't educate the people that follow them about what they brought into that, the powers they brought into that, and what they can do and how to service it, then it means what it means is that nobody is really fulfilling the duties or the rituals or the practices of these powers that are in the house. So inasmuch as they've turned away from spirituality and followed the church, the curses that these gods have incurred are still dominating and are still occurring, are still enforcing, and people are actually going through a lot of curses because the rite and the rituals that are supposed to be done onto these powers, onto these gods, are not being done. So this is where it's a bit tricky for me. The gods are in, the people have turned their backs on the gods, the curses are reoccurring or still occurring curses, and because once you turn your back, you cannot break a covenant. Once you break a covenant, it works against you. So since these covenants are working against them and they've turned to the church, what is the way forward? Into my parents in the
enemies are many, and they stand ready to pounce upon and exploit our every weakness. They play upon our vanities and flatter us in every kind of way. They tell us that this particular person or that particular country has greater or more favorable potentialities than the other. They do not tell us that we should unite, that we are all as good as we are able to make ourselves once we are free.
Don't fucking move on. Shoot your fucking ass, bitch. Tase his ass.
Why are you so angry?
Yeah, I'm angry because it's been going on forever. Forever. Enough is enough.
We're waiting for a back. I will, sir. No worries. I will.
Fuck.
He just shot his arm off. We got pulled over on Larpener.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
You told him to get his ID, sir, and his driver's license. Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead. Please don't tell me my boyfriend just went like that.
Keep your hands where they are, please.
Yes, I will, sir. I'll keep my hands where they are. Please don't tell me this, Lord. Please, Jesus, don't tell me that he's gone. Please don't tell me that he's gone. Please, officer, don't tell me that you just did this to him. You shot 4 bullets into him, sir. He was just getting his license and registration, sir.
Mid-20th century is Africa's. This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence. To independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
My parents in the TCI create when who then put to night and why then win one man. Sorry, no. Not TCI man and I'm so okay, but true if you know, only the Busiani, This year, you're being it.
She said, one now, oh, if you do any more, the woman I saw now, suffer long, about to break them out or tell them. So while I'm on fire, and about to break them if you go,
So Ada is saying that if you are in that particular family, you feel the oppression or the suppression of these powers since they are not being serviced, then if you want to turn to the church for the pastor to break that particular case, then you turn to the church for the pastor to break. If you believe and you are willing, the pastor would break the case. But this is what I know, and I'll ask Elder about it, that a case between two people cannot be broken unless the two parties are involved and are present. As I'm looking at the mention my decision can mention there. Say a pede a bubun do and a breaking case be a breaking do maybe or then yimpa na oshishan domino or na two me cry walk on no walk them to me now don't know what then bibia why bia na sisian say walk a chapel them myself no to me down and do me wa brain pokona oshishan domino you wanna
oh another so for no about my
to me
about my Bibia and quitted Pabo. Then Pabo Botum, why break the marriage nephew woman.
They're saying that without a doubt, the pastor can break that case. Once you go to the pastor and you believe and you continue in prayer, then that case will be gone. It is easier, them sumana wako je besi busiumuna, obiam from queen. It's if sofano. Or then and domina or de busiona dena sumana abasam no because or sumsum suze Indiana azina wachichiri wode on they are just representative, just a channel inti why you then what pump them sumsum if you
sumsum and the obapa mano because say sofuna obey you know ono or Nusuma or Wooduma other swing. I mean, no, did the Australia and Yamano or Botum. Why, you know, Bosman Susum, but if you want, maybe they are really.
So Ada is saying that ARKOH is saying that the pastor can easily do it so long as you are willing. The pastor would be able to break and revert the case that has been incurred through. But I was asking about the spirits that are behind these powers, these forces, and Elder is saying that with the spirit, once the case has been broken between the pastor and whoever this person is, then the spirit will automatically go away. This is not about my stand, my point of view. This is not about where I stand. I'm just trying to go to everybody and hear everybody's story and everybody's experience. So this has nothing to do with my point of view or where I stand at all. Inti, Nana, our eyewitness is such as them experience in the baby the man who pays the to me, Minana Mukajeba Mebusuemi. On no madame de Miesi, na echo soften one so soften abua madame the Minina Sam Wadan. I in a baby.
Who be that?
I put in now a private cooker.
Okay. Yes, Mamma, Mary, the man, you know. What's it up? Ma, she really monos. You see, why do you want her if you don't know?
No, I was an awkward way if you didn't.
No, Bushman, how walk a G by them. Sabi, Yana Namano, one to one found couldn't see. Amama, no, often Lanson, Nankatation, I don't know, fee there, no, hobby, above water, no hobby, I knew put to because of an apple.
It's not bosom or kutia or Bermana.
No, or kutia be what the people what the bear, as you say, say, Oko, baby now, Wabra to me, yeah, Mawa, Utumakade, call. One and a fee, ma, one bomba, or farmer, one bomba, yeah, but yeah,
the you know, no soften or bayana, can you know if you know by Echo and now we fear if you know about Paramount.
When I never fear now, especially, yeah, him show you walk. Well, or down, yeah, to address what with the tower, I know you will be saying it. I just sort of see, this the man, now by you will maybe or one Bernosa, yet a better way a better harder. War, the back archer when you pay in or paying a baba. The catcher, the most messy, Wako baby, Wakane, umbrella. Then they feel one bomb pump. One bomb pump.
Okay, it's not here. Oh no. On your chapel didn't know but on why you're here, Juma. So I asked Elder that has he personally encountered a situation where there was a curse in his house and by prayer in the church and all of that we could see that it is thin, and he said yes, he's actually encountered something like that, but there are situations where you can actually be told that what you are dealing with, and let me say this. He said that the God that was brought into the house, because one, the ancestors never taught them how to pray through it and how to use it, and also where it came from. The God turned against the young men in the house and were fighting against them. So after the conversation, he said that sometimes you can go and they tell you that go to your ancestor's house or your ancestral home, so that you'll be prayed for in the ancestral home. So now that made it a bit interesting for me, because I wanted to understand, okay, if you make it back to your ancestral home, are you going there with a pastor to be prayed for in your ancestral home, or you would have to go there and there will be an elder or somebody in the house that will pray with you? And he said, no, this has nothing to do with the church, that you actually have to go home, and with him in the palace or in the chief's palace, there's a room for the stool. There's a room for the stool. Every true king has a stool behind. The stool basically tells the spirit that is behind the chief. So this stool is not seen by everybody, but it's seen by the core family members and those that are close to the throne. And when you go out there and things are not necessarily working for you as they're supposed to, when they ask you to come to your ancestral home, when you come and they pray and pour libation and all of that for you. But they pour libation for you, everything will be reversed, because that breakthrough or that answer or that deliverance is tied to your ancestral home. So in as much as they go to church and all of that, they don't at the same time move away from the fact that they have to be in tune spiritually and pour their libations and do certain sacrifices, like the mashed yam. We call it eto in our local language, the mashed yam. They eat in the throne room. So every king has a throne room. Every king has a throne room. And the throne room is only very few peculiar people that are allowed to go into the throne room. If you are not in the core family, you will never be allowed to into the throne room. Inti, Mama, my giant and then Kaka, because Mampere not today. Osun, Abosum sum, no soon in Seguana,
in Segun, the Abiana. We be worship. You can know Oshima. Now on Quasara, on Abusiano, you were a penny or Obogwinsa, Obogwinsa, via Akade, if you are one for him, and see, or Quasara.
When Wilson Abbassin, you see.
I know what I shall say, man. She said, yes, about
to do good son. To Wogun son and one in San O'Connor. Wogun son and one. Since on your chapel, there, Wogun
Sanama, Wufuna, be aware we know.
To Wogun son of Florana,
or clan, often a bosom and some idea. See. The money pay where we say root among our back on check. See, Munjala way too.
Into Wogun son, the war come or did you on our way to war in some man? Not today, so no. A membrane is our crewman, what the one was it? Was a membrane, but one comb bosom beer. So a member of the was a man. See, a bottom so I brought the ones you are memory. So I wanted to have clarity because in Elder's speech he was speaking and the fact that they no longer go to the gods and all of that. So I was a bit, because he said that they still pour libations and do all the rituals. So I'm just trying to find out, who do you give the rituals to? Who do you call when you're pouring the libation? Who do you call on to? And then Ochame Akun said that they call on to the ancestors that are moved on into the next one. So for example, when somebody dies in the community or in the family and the person is not a churchgoer, what they do is that they pour libation on behalf of the deceased that is moving to the next realm, and they ask the ancestors and the powers that be and all the spirits that evolves or around the community to accept and welcome this individual into the never-ending realm, which we call it Asamando. So in as much as they don't believe, they don't have a specific God they go to, at the same time they still practice the customs and the rituals and the spirituality, but they don't do it as in having a particular God that they go to and serve and worship, but they make sure that all the necessary rites and rituals and festivities that has to be done is done in the community. In system, meta sa inti ochede nananom wano kwan no yi Kristo som won bogra dem no kana like when ye enemies
wana walk asor na wana wonk asor no my prayer there obo ebira chese where ebu ebusua no ebu ebusua nti se ebu ebusua na se ebusua no asemisima ano do ekwa asoro mom ya sampade anso mo nyina amoya adoko na mom mfere wetu ada waye one no sa mfere da ma kada what to go da waye
etona
obete tona ade no ano wo bia ekwa asoro no mfon frafra sa ekwa no wo ho pi one to make be a way to be no or because when they in Yabi, but to carry
so there is further explanation to, because I'm trying to understand what exactly is going on. Can you be in a church and still do the practices of our fathers or spirituality of our fathers, or you can't? And what Elder is saying that when it comes to certain things in the family as a unit, you cannot really exempt yourself, because when the family is pouring libation and doing all the things that you are part of the family, you have to be there. But when it comes to the integral rituals like the sacrifices and the in-depth things, then if you go to church, then you exempt yourself from it. You don't partake in it because you go to church. If you don't go to church, it's a different conversation. But once you go to church, you have to make sure you don't get yourself involved in things like that, because the two of you are on separate paths. You are not on the same path, you are on separate paths. Indeed, I would have question. I'm asking me a Methodist. Indeed, I wear question, not a way at the men's and phone home. And I said, I wear a champion in your choice.
Me, my champion, if you're there, said, never be but a man. Another would be from the Oban and Unchain, the Aviana, from Big Assassin. Now, while you make my another way, sit down. Now, Diana could be when you are some, and say, Obaba Basama, Diana, all course work, the Mukunumun, and now there, Usi will be. Obaba Basama, Sayan Pano, Amanana. Okay, Nasa, Sam Crawford. Impa was a man so when two were made a summer, Nasa, I will bet that summer. If that summer now, Obia, Father, now summer than I able for no, about two were clear the bone. Impa was a man, no course. Adama, until Obanama, and South on Babano. Mecha mecha makamano kamano kakra sana wana wedisha machichamu.
So I was just curious. I was like, I asked Ochami if he goes to church, and he said yeah, he's a Methodist. And I wanted to find out, okay, since you go to church and you are the linguist, then it kind of a bit messy, because in as much as you are in the church, when it comes to certain customs and traditions, you cannot really separate yourself from it. So you can be in the church, but you still have to do what you got to do. And he said that yes, there are certain things that even against his own will, he cannot do without, because, for example, when a case comes up in the family and they have to pour libation and the person brings a drink and all of that, he still has to taste the drink. So therefore, it means that in as much as he's in the church, he's not away from the customs of our land, but at the same time, he's not fully for the customs of our land, but his position does not allow him to actually make a choice. So he's stuck in the middle. It's open. I mean, Miss my decision Kakrana, Zama my shame Kakran. Mamma me who there. The Kwana Nayan and Nanum, one am doing your Kwanabon. Or the in Wabuin and Zama Bibri, Busin, or John Quamo, Cotinas as a papa, I've been a year, ye be at Tina Gumwa, I didn't tell me, and Nanum now come home when you want by me. Just the Yimpa Bimuno, or no what I say, soon Majuma, and today I say, then an animal, I know we won't feed us, and also won't be as a walk on some handle. So won't be as a walk on church. The men's a me or but Yimpia will be there, no one ma a cheese in one why a baby or bon ye day, Ebeka day, to me you or Busumi you or the me you or the men's edges or because I mean, since I've been made during that, but I was more to me or maybe I call quiet be more a two months there, what you do, a two months the baby corn. Why do I answer maybe a Subia, I answer maybe a intimate transu, an intimate door, and an intimate equa being boy day, and then maybe Demon or Obia.
Oh, yeah, especially here, coffee. So, if we're from that, the Cordua, already in Cambomba and Sana.
Echo from the Cordua days in Cambo.
Bomba and Sana,
a codo na bompire abasem this.
Oh, as somebody in symbol, once I lie, don't want a man. I would be a man, Yammy.
The Abba Pen ever Yamum pay.
What was a can, but
Nancy, I miss a mood which you should be for grass to creep, not to scan a second job. I just, Elder was talking about the fact that if I was asking him, do gods exist? Do powers exist? Because our generation, people don't even believe whether gods exist or they don't. So I was asking Elder if they do exist, and if they do exist, then what do we do? Because our fathers, everywhere they went, they walked with these gods, they walked with these powers. Even before you cross a river, you have to say certain prayers. Before you start your farm, you have to do certain things. Before you start, and Elder is saying, yes, of course, gods do exist. They don't worship them, they attend to the church. But all these powers that be in the ancestral realm, they do exist. That even when you go to the farm, you have to pray and you have to commit your farm into prayer and every activities you do so that everything will go well. Even weeding, you have to make sure that you pray so that when you're cutting down anything, it will be efficient, so you don't even cut your leg. So I brought a joke that I was trying to cut my grass the other day and I cut my leg with a cutlass. So if I prayed, I won't cut my leg. That's what we're laughing. It mean there you paying and when some more we are seeing we know about them a bit. But it be said that Bosom that
Bosom actually Bosom.
Uncle for me, baby, soon.
A good say, soon, both soon, I let from especially I just summer, or you somebody, or you see, maybe I would trouble. Yeah. I did. It's a good teacher. I know what next should be a very what it my friend.
I had to be easy at being workers as soon as someone being workers as soon as being workers. If I'm not what you mean, no, but there, you give them a message. Because of you are or you were. I know about you when you feel maybe me anyway. Yes, very well. Before maybe so last question. So I asked Elder if he's seen a God before or a spirit, and he said genuinely he's never seen a God before. He's never encountered a God before. But when it comes to spirit or ghost or what we call ghost or the spirit of our fathers, our ancestors, sometimes you can go on your farm and the wind will just come and pass you by. And he used the term that the dead does not have bones. So it means that the dead can easily pass you by without you feeling it because they don't have bones in them. So with that, he's experienced that they will come and pass you and you get a chills or you get goosebumps and you feel a cold wind pour on you and you feel the arrest. That he's experienced that several times, but he's never seen a ghost before. The reason being that we have those who can literally see and those who do not see. And with him, he does not have the eyes to see into spiritual things, but there are people that actually see. So I bring him to my last question. Inti ata beko someday obi ehun bosom da.
Obi mo otumo aka.
Otumo aka
de. Meho dam bosumi wo ha. Meho dam bosumi wo ha. Mati dam abako sam bita.
Imobia nangese ehun bosom da.
Okay, young coffin be what to watch here. Biana be or a fool war a match. Now, there be a toilet. Work with them, push me. Biano, sorry and tap that our quest.
So basically, what our elder is saying is that with him, he's never seen, but I asked him, has he heard stories of people he's close to? And he's saying yes, there are friends that he has friends that amongst them they say maybe he wakes up early to go to the farm, or maybe wakes up early at dawn to go to the toilet, and on the way there they actually come across gods and powers that be. But he hasn't seen it, but there are stories, and there are also friends and family that I have actually encountered these gods or these powers. So in conclusion, the powers exist, the gods exist, the authorities exist. There's no, the world is not just as it is. There are dimensions to the world. So it's either you see or you don't. If you see, that is your prerogative, that is your experience. And if you don't see, there's nothing wrong with you. That's also your experience. But when it comes to the traditions and spirituality of what is said to be done, you cannot do away with, because that actually happens regardless whether you're in the church or not. When the rites are there to be fulfilled, you have to fulfill them. And that's